Next type of questions are very popular. Definitely, students will see 1, 2, or 3 of these questions, true, false questions. So the question is set such that the students are given one sentence. I think we've seen those before. So let me just bring this up first, right? So the first thing we want to do is to break the sentence into chunks. Later, I'll show you how we do that. Now, so once we have about a few chunks, we need to pick out the chunk that is false in the context of the passage. So if there is any chunk that is false, the statement is definitely false, right? So once we have narrowed down on the false portion of that statement, we just have to fix that part, right? So we just have to fill in the evidence from the passage to dispute the incorrect portion of that sentence. Now, if all chunks in that sentence are true, so the statement is true. And in that case, the reason or the evidence that we need to present, right, needs to confirm that all the chunks and usually by providing the supporting detail in that sentence. So let me talk about this with an example, right? So Albert was scared by the sound of a monster in the office. This is the question, right? Albert was scared by the sound of a monster in the office. So at first, I would not know whether this is true or false, but actually to students, these sentences do jump out. However, sometimes they can be tricked, right? To immediately think that it's true when actually, if they look deeper, it's a false statement. So here I've chunked this sentence into a few parts. Albert, the character, one chunk, part 1. Second part was scared, right? So Albert 1 was scared, part 2, by the sound of a monster, part 3. So this is the thing that caused Albert to be scared in the office. So that's chunk number 4. So I've already broken this statement into chunks of 4, right? Some students would even chunk this up further to make it 5 by cutting it at a sound. Could be sound, could be the sight of the monster. So it can be as detailed as that, right? So, but in general, let's look at these 4 chunks. So I know that in the passage, there was a point where Albert was scared by something, right? So I would go back to the passage, right, and look for the context where this sentence seemed to have appeared. So if I look carefully, I will notice that the sound that caused Albert some distress, right, was this whirring sound. And then when he asked for the source of this whirring sound, the lady, right, the janitor, the cleaner, said she reached into the shadows and pulled out a crazy looking machine with a long handle and big furry wheels. It's a floor buffer. It polishes the floors. So now I know that the portion in red, the sound of a monster, is proven false. So therefore, so it was true that Albert was there. It was true that Albert was scared. And it was true that he was in the office. But the third chunk, by the sound of a monster, is false. So I can safely say this is a false statement. And the evidence that I want to put in there would be, I would continue to write down the portion that is true in this statement. Albert was scared. This time around by what? By the sound of a floor buffer in the office. So this is a false statement. This is how I would give evidence for a false statement. Let me give you an example of a true statement, right? So question is, Albert met a female staff at the office. So again, I chunked them. Albert is 1, met is 2, a female staff is 3, at the office is 4. 4 chunks, right? So I would go back to the passage and look at who Albert met in the office. So this is the janitor, the cleaner that we previously mentioned, right? So I work here too, she said. 2 because Albert said that his mother works in that place. So my name is Karen and so on and so forth. So yes, a female staff, right? So true, Albert met now you want to be a bit more specific, you can put a middle-aged woman who said she worked in the office. So again, you take the context from here, you can lift, no problem, right? As long as it answers. So this true statement is sometimes harder to answer than false statements because students do not know what to put in. Some students give up thinking and they just copy exactly the same statement over here. Now this will not work, right? In this case, this lifting is a clear 0, right? You need to look for context in the passage, right? And then put that in to replace the part that you agree is true in the sentence, right? So this is true false question. Hi, this is Dr. Daniel Chua. I hope the video that you have just watched will be helpful to your child in preparation for PSLE English. So if you are interested to sign up for any of our programs, please feel free to check out this QR code, and then you can then find out more about what we do to help our students at Cognitus Academy. All right, thank you.